For the one arm dumbbell snatch, we're going to be removing that dumbbell from the hips to overhead in one explosive movement, as opposed to a clean and press where we're performing two movements, but the starting and ending position is the same. The key to this movement is keeping that dumbbell as close to your body as possible, and two, not overthinking it. Now, to get started with this movement, I'm going to begin by deadlifting the dumbbell from the floor. In order to do so, I'm going to center that dumbbell between my feet. Feet are going to be shoulder width apart and the handle's lined up with the center of my feet. I'm going to bend at my knees and hips, spreading the floor apart with my feet and keeping a neutral spine. I'm going to extend that arm, wrap the thumb and fingers around, make sure the wrist is straight. Taking my deep belly breath, extend the knees and hips, and deadlift it off the ground. Now, here comes the snatch portion. In order to load up this movement, I'm going to keep that weight as close to my body as possible. I'm going to initiate by bending at the hips, slightly at the knees, to load up the movement. Spreading the floor apart with the feet, just like we did with our deadlift. You don't need to go any lower than either the knees or slightly below the knees. From here, I'm going to extend the knees and hips powerfully, shrug my shoulders, and we're going to do what I call zipping up your jacket, keeping it as close to your body as possible while keeping it centered. I'll show you from a few different angles. Belly breath, knees and hips, shrug, catch. Arm fully extended overhead, bring it back down to the rack position, back down to the hips. Here it is from the front. Bend at the knees and hips, keeping the weight in nice and tight, dip, shrug, catch. Again from the side. Arm extended overhead, back down to the rack. From here, when you're done with the number of repetitions on one side, you can either A, switch hands at the hips, or lower it all the way to the ground and switch hands from the ground. This movement can also be performed from the ground. Same position that you did for the deadlift, except now, instead of deadlifting up to the hips and then performing the snatch, we're going to perform the snatch directly from the floor. Try with my left hand this time. Center the dumbbell between the feet, lining up the handle with the center of the foot. Bend at the knees and hips. Spread the floor apart with the feet, keeping that nice neutral spine. Fully extend that arm. When you grab that dumbbell, make sure your wrist is not bent back. Make sure it's nice and straight. Thumb and fingers wrapped around. Use that weight to lower your hips. Taking your belly breath. Extend the knees and hips. Shrug the shoulders and catch overhead. Back down. Now, do you have to slam your feet on the ground? No. However, why am I doing that? I'm dropping my feet hard so that my feet land flat. A tendency with these powerful movements like cleans, snatches, and the like, if you're not landing hard and you're not making sure to get that flat foot, there's chances that you might land on the ball of your foot and you might fall forward a little bit. I actually did that on the one that I was facing you on. Not everything is perfect all the time, right? So that's why I do it. And just know that when I'm jumping, I'm not actually jumping up. I'm actually raising my feet off the ground so that I can drop my center of gravity. So as that dumbbell is moving up in front of me, I'm dropping my body explosively, which allows me to move more weight overhead than if I were to just land right here, okay? Rather than just extending the knees and hips and catching it here, I'm extending the knees and hips and dropping underneath it in that explosive, precise drop. But that's how you do the one arm dumbbell snatch.